Hey everybody, we'll get started here in a second. I just want to give people a minute, as I know it's just now kind of posted, and my apologies for that blurry picture on the side. It was a video, but with this, I have to upload files, and it took out my fun animations. So, give it a minute. We'll walk through everything. If you haven't seen already, I emailed out the salary survey probably 15 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago, uh, depending on where you are or how it batched up the two emails, and then I also posted on LinkedIn in my group, or not my group, on the newsletter for pricing salary surveys, or pricing salaries, or whatever it is, as well as it should be on my page. So the link should be easier this year. I tried to make it easier, make sure. I know some people were having trouble last year, or they'd already been on it and they couldn't get it. So I tried to make it easy. You just essentially put in your email and your name, and it should give you the link to the PDF. So let me know if you guys have any trouble with that, or if anybody has any issues along those lines. Either you can chat them to me, and I will help with it, or just shoot me a message on LinkedIn or email or wherever, and I'll make sure I help out. So just want to see, are people there? People listening? I can't even. I don't. It's not even showing me any statistics or anything. Uh, can you hear me okay, Drew? All right, cool. I can't post comments to LinkedIn. Okay. Drew, do you want to try just sending a comment, see if it works, see if I can get it, or if I'm just or somebody comment and let me know if you can actually hear me, or if something's there. There we go. That works. All right. Oh, nice. You can see that. It doesn't show it to me. Anyways, here I am. Thanks for the people that are commenting, letting me know. All right. Well, I'll just dive into it. I'll record this, hopefully. And we'll dive into stuff so you guys can ask questions or comments or whatever it may be. So let me share the screen and start to get into it. So this year, thanks to everybody's help, and sorry that's putting my picture over. We had over 1,500 responses, which was probably up from, I think, about 1,350 last year. So a significant uptick there. I know I probably bugged you guys and harassed you, and my apologies. Like I always say, it's confidential. I'm actually the only one that sees the raw data. Drew helps out on my team, but I kind of keep that to myself and delete any way of tracking people the first thing I do. So even I don't know who's taking it unless people tell me, and then I forget, and when I actually do the analysis, I don't pay attention. But anyways, so I wanted to give a distribution. People always ask, well, who's taking it? How many people? All that kind of stuff. So if you look over here, I tried to give a distribution of the levels for the different people on it. Obviously, there's some levels that don't fit into here, and I didn't include them because they were smaller. But I think the one thing, I mean, you'd kind of expect that kind of curve in distribution anyways. But there's either a lot less analysts that are connected with us, or a lot less analysts overall out there right now. That number seems to have dropped, and that was kind of, you'll notice in the salary survey, the analyst level most places is blank, just because there were 1, 2, no responses. So I couldn't even put the analyst level a lot of places, which was either concerning or telling about where the pricing space is going to, whether that's with analytics and stuff, and we're not maybe bringing on as many. But it also kind of creates a problem with, as we're trying to promote people, hire people, I'm seeing the most frustration among hiring and the hardest time right now, and we're helping out mainly with a lot of analyst and senior analyst roles to fill just because there's not enough people, and companies are struggling to find those people. Obviously, a good amount of managers and directors, so that's probably going to be where the strongest data is. So I did include Canada this year to make it North America. It's really just Toronto, to be honest. And my dot is not accurate on where Toronto is. So my apologies. I know that full well. I was just trying to put this together. And obviously the other dots are I just threw them on there. So my apologies if if people are wondering why those aren't in the right spaces, but we're up from 31 to 40 because of that increase in responses, and probably us harassing people in those areas where we were close to being able to show a city or a metro area. And if you guys have questions, as I'm going, put them in the chat. I can see them. It's right in front of me. So just let me know, and I'm happy to kind of dive in or clarify or whatever it is. This is a time for you all to ask questions. Give me a hard time, give me suggestions for next year, whatever it is. Don't hesitate to let me know. So, some of the results and what I was able to do this year with more of the responses was there was a few times where there was enough cities in a state, but there wasn't enough city specific for me to, include that city. But the data was very comparable across the state. So I was able to kind of combine that and give a look at some state level stuff. I think North Carolina included Charlotte, maybe even Raleigh, and the state. I don't know. That one may have been a little too much. And then industries, we more than doubled the industries from last year. Yeah, just more responses, more industries. It allowed me to kind of get into the industries a little bit deeper than I have in the past. So some more great information. I try to do my best when I'm looking at industries to take the markets into consideration and look at that. And sometimes, I'm able to call that out or pull it out and kind of say maybe not including this area, or break out some cities within it. And there were a few times where there was some interesting stuff. I think it was maybe building materials, like Atlanta was more expensive. There was something there that was kind of surprising. That was, hey, it may just be because of Lowe's or whatever. I believe that's where they are, or Home Depot. I guess I shouldn't be that surprising now that I think about it. Anyways, so the first big thing that kind of stuck out to me, and I put it on the report, but nearly 15% of pricing professionals said they didn't get a raise in 2024. And it looks like I'm looking at Drew's screen. It looks like the slides are a little bit behind. So there we go. So this one, I wanted to look and see what was actually going on with some of this stuff. But there were a lot of people that got a small raise, didn't get a raise, but it was kind of surprising to see nearly 15% of people didn't get a raise in 2024. Obviously the market's not great, and there were other factors, or maybe some people that took new jobs didn't give me, but it was kind of a nice mix across, and a lot of people in their roles. So if you didn't get a raise this year, you were definitely not alone. There were a lot of people, and then you'd expect that may mean there were more people taking new jobs and people looking to get out of their current roles, which I think there are, as there are a lot more people applying right now, especially to remote roles, which I'll get into. And sorry, just waiting for the screen to catch up eventually. Man, there's a serious delay. Sorry, people. There we go. 21% less people took roles in 2024. So because of the lack of new roles, because of other stuff, people are staying longer. You just let me know. I can't. Oh, okay. Well, um, so yeah, so a lot less people were on the move and took new roles. Especially, I think we'll show kind of later. I'll show how that was actually transpiring, but a lot less people were on the move and took new roles in the last year. Obviously, this is kind of going back a little bit. All right, so sorry, my let me just get rid of my face so you can see everything. So remote roles is obviously a big thing right now. Last year, I want to say 55% of people. Yes, there are specific industry trends, and I'll do some more on that. I'll talk to it a little bit in a second, and I'll probably try to do some more specific stuff on industries as like kind of try to do some articles and things like that. But with the remote, we were, I believe, at 55% last year of people taking new jobs that were remote. This year, it fell to 43%. So you're seeing a pullback of companies offering or wanting remote work. So that's kind of created a little bit of an issue. I think companies are also, forcing people back into the office, which is causing a whole different set of issues. And I think they're kind of doing it in lieu of layoffs, but that's my personal opinion. So Drew actually looked at all the side by side industries that had the same level and the cities that had the same level, and we averaged up all the everything that was the same from 2023 to 2024 as it related to base compensation changes. And so on average, it was less than 1.5% raises for people. So that's just kind of looking, another number, kind of looking at what actually is transpiring and kind of where is the market going in those places. And there just wasn't much, you know, much of a raise. You know, here's you can kind of see in the top right, you can see the raises by year coming down. Obviously this is kind of overall, and or these are, sorry, no, let me take a step. These are raises for people getting new roles in the last 6 months. So you can see here in this one that people are not getting stolen away, for the big raises that were coming in the years past. There's a serious decline over the last 2 years in what companies are offering to steal talent away. Is that a factor of the market? Most likely. Is it a factor of maybe we are pushing too hard on our compensation? I don't think any of us are going to think that's true, given the amount of revenue we generate for the companies. But you can see new raises, the raise for people taking new jobs it was pretty steady from 2019, and I didn't do 2020 because I thought because of the pandemic that'd be rude. 2021 were relatively the same. We had a big jump in 2022 where things were kind of going gangbusters. We slowed down a bit 2023 and really have kind of fallen off in 2024. Oopsies. And then kind of we talked about the people taking new jobs. How does that, where is that coming from? So it looks like people are staying into that. If you look at the yellow line is this year's, the blue line is last year's. So if you look, people didn't take nearly the amount of jobs in the last 6 to 12 months as they did, the prior in the prior survey. And that kind of people staying, the average pricing job is probably about a year and a half. Kind of when we've looked at it in the past surveys. This year, that's gone up significantly because of this. And so you're probably looking at that now over over 2 years, and you're seeing people stay into that second and third year at a much higher rate than before. So whereas people were kind of doing 2 years and jumping, or a year and a half and going somewhere else, they're now staying instead of taking a new role, or they're not being stolen away at the same rate by people like myself, probably because I have less roles, but I can't steal too many people away when the market. So people are just kind of hunkering down, trying to wait out the downturn in the hiring market, which honestly we're probably looking at another year and a half if I had to guess. So say this trend is going to only get worse next year on next year's salary survey, but something that I'll keep an eye on. So one thing that's not in there, and I don't think the data has caught up to what's going on in the market, is that remote roles are paying less. Specifically, remote director compensation is dropping. And I think anybody that's out there looking for a director role right now may be seeing this. If they're seeing it, if you're looking for a remote role, you're definitely seeing this. The amount of people applying for roles, for these director roles, I have one right now. I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the week if 400 people had applied. So you've got a ton of people applying for these roles. You've got a fair amount of, our fellow pricing professionals out of work, people who aren't happy looking for a change, those people that have kind of stayed longer than they were. So all that, and you've got other people just willing, that have been forced into an office, that want to work remote. So we're driving our own compensation down for these remote director roles, probably senior director, potentially even VP roles. We're kind of we're pushing the comp down ourselves at this point, and I wouldn't be surprised if next year we see a dip. We're kind of, like I said, we were at that 1.48% when you compare year over year in the data that's the same. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see that be even flat or even negative next year. I really wouldn't. I expect to see the director compensation and the raises for those people taking remote roles kind of plummet next year, to be honest. So I think we're in for kind of a rude awakening on next year's salary survey. This one's kind of the warning, but it's 3 to 6 months behind. So I think we're in for a different one. So I just kind of want to preface that as this is a little bit behind, and what I'm seeing in the market is kind of, going to transpire kind of on that next report. So I kind of wanted to address that, as I see a lot of it right now. So some interesting findings, getting into some of the industry stuff. So question, is remote comp down because the people hired as remote are in small market areas? No, it's not that. It's people in big market areas that don't want to work in an office, or that, and there's just so many people applying, and there's people out of work willing to take less money. There are, people willing to take less money to work remotely. So there's just a willingness from, probably more than just the pricing professionals, but I think across everything, to take less money to get into a remote role, or maybe they may have moved somewhere that there aren't as many pricing opportunities. Honestly, I see it even in Bay Area tech. They're they're taking less money for the remote roles. So it really has nothing to do with where the people are, and it has very little to do with the company and all that kind of stuff. It's just a product of the market's down, comps are coming down, companies aren't willing to pay as much, and they're not needing to go to that next level that they once were to get talent. Sometimes over the past few years, especially kind of 2021, 2022, I had to push my clients to, like, well, only senior managers are going to apply for that comp range, and now there's directors coming down into that range, and if they want to go up, they can even get a VP. So it's more of this shifting down and people's willingness to take less comp that's driving it down, that these companies don't need to go fight for more budget or push or things along those lines to get to that next level. So I'm just seeing a lot less of that, and people's asks are coming down as far as what they're looking for. So it's just a combination of everything that's creating this. So some interesting things around the industries. So with all the increases that the retail and CPG world are doing, those companies are actually paying them less. I was pretty shocked by that. I would have thought the comp would have gone up. I know some retailers are struggling and all that kind of stuff, but I would have thought, given the effect and the impact on the business and what has been done, especially too with the CPG side, I would have thought they would have held held or gone up, but they've actually come down a fair amount. Software struggled. That market seems to have kind of stalled or come back to earth, so to speak. That compensation, just same thing kind of with the remote, they just aren't having to go as high as they once were because of other factors and people's stock having vested or stocks not being worth as much or whatever it may be. It's just that I definitely have noticed a shift in that space. The automotive space was the number one performer this year among industries where there was enough for me to actually compare multiple levels. So they were up over 10%. So I mean, someone can tell me, but I don't really know what happened with automotive, but they're kind of setting the pace, not to make too many race jokes or automotive jokes, but they kind of were the class of this year. Another thing, deal desk comp was very surprising. And sometimes it was passing pricing comp. I didn't necessarily expect that. So that was just something to note. So if you are looking to do keep your comp the same, you can go into the deal desk side of things. And there is some opportunity there. So with that being said, I'm open to questions. I didn't want to get into the same all the same stuff that I usually go into with you all. I just kind of wanted to give some thoughts, some notes. If you've got questions, suggestions, whatever it is, let me know. And the one that I usually always get is, can you tell me the number of responses per level? If your company's asking and you need to prove something, reach out to me. I'll help with that. But I try to keep everything as anonymous and as protected as I can. And maybe that's not protecting enough, but it's just been something I've held firm on. So any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, whatever those may be, feel free to put them in the chat or send them on over. Okay. No questions? Nobody's got anything for me? Maybe the most straightforward salary survey that we've had, if there's no questions. Even if you want me to kind of do another one of these, dive into something in particular, feel free to let me know. I'm always looking to change stuff, add stuff for the salary surveys, all that kind of stuff. So, this is for everybody. So everybody's opinion matters. Yeah, what was it? It was right around 10%. It's on the second page of the salary survey, Alan. I kind of listed out by year the actual numbers, so not on the cover page, but the second page should show the actual raises in the last 6 months that I kind of compared 3 years of stuff. So it should give you the actual numbers. Yeah, I could have made it all happy and we're still making more money, but I think we're kind of behind on where this is going to be, and I'd rather just give it to you like it is and not try to hold anything back. It's not a great market right now. I don't see that changing. I think the PE firms right now are probably the only reason we don't have a 10% unemployment rate. I wouldn't say necessarily newfound, but the more roles that they're creating right now and the more teams they're investing in is probably saving us from a very high unemployment rate. I mean, that's most of the roles that I'm getting are coming in through those types of companies. Yeah, good luck with new analysts. They're hard to find, and sorry there wasn't more data. Paul, I really hope I recorded this. If not, I'm not going to be too happy with myself. But yeah, I'll hopefully. I think you can play it back on LinkedIn as soon as I'm done, right, Drew, or start it over. David, can you be a little more specific with the question? I'm happy to answer it, but just give me a little bit more. Yeah, I looked at. I probably should have done it again. I thought maybe that'd be boring, is to look at the compensation that we get versus finance or other stuff. But maybe I can find some data on the market and the overall salaries and increases, and put a report together about how does pricing compare to the overall economy and the overall job market, because we are. What does this mean? I mean, this means to us, but how does that compare is a great question. Anyone got anything else? I'm happy to sit here all day and answer questions, and I do mean, if you do have suggestions or things you want to see for next year included, I do try to add and subtract questions and try to get some more information. I tried to first finance, first marketing. Yeah. I mean, the compensation for us doesn't matter which group you're in for the most part. I think there was one industry or one city where finance paid less. Not surprising. Some industries that's the right place for it, other places not, and it may just be that one area. Paul, I don't know that I think we've ever calculated the difference on average between all those. Might be interesting. Honestly, some of it doesn't. Drew pointed out in some of the data, there was one where a senior analyst level was paid higher than the manager level, which was interesting. And I checked the data like 2 or 3 times. So some of it really is just kind of more subjective, based off the person or the company. and it was in industry and I think the same area, so it was a little weird. No, I didn't, Alan. I didn't see much of a difference between the bonus payout. I mean, I think I more or less, and that'd be an interesting one to look at. I felt like bonus pay was down um, this year, but it's also harder because people may just say, "Oh, I have a 20% bonus," and if there's say their base is 200,000, they put 40%, 40,000 in there. Some people may have actually put what their bonus was, and then sometimes people put in just random stuff that makes no sense to me, and I have to exclude it. But whole different story, whole other story. But there is a little bit, I'd say, less bonus than this year than last year, just based off my own personal perception and when I've been looked at some specific stuff for clients or companies or people looking for or in salary negotiations. So there is a bit of a drop off there, and I am hearing from more and more candidates that they're not getting bonuses or their bonuses aren't hitting, which is a product of the market. Stock, I mean, that just comes down to the company if they give it or not, and that one's super hard to calculate because it's kind of more a product of the companies and the people giving the responses. Difference between the high and low comp by role. It honestly, it depends, David. It just depends on an industry, a city. That's kind of why I try to do the base, the base range around that median number, and I try to give some sense of how wide is that range or how narrow is that range. So I think that is more your indicator of things. If there is something that honestly, I sit there and I go through each and every industry and market and I look at all the levels and I highlight it and I sit there and I try to analyze and sort it like each time 2 or 3 different ways to look for, is it, if it's a city, is it an industry, what's driving, those comp differences. And if I can break it out, I break it out for you guys. But sometimes there's just a wide variation. It can be in the same industry in the same city, and one person's making a bunch more and the other person's making less, and there's not necessarily a different, like they kind of have the same amount of years of experience. All that kind of stuff looks roughly the same. I will say one thing that I did call out a lot, and one thing I probably should have kind of led with, is there really is a divide between director and like entry level director and experienced director comp. That is very clear. I call it out multiple times. I think I even call out years of experience as a negative and as a positive. So if you're a more experienced you have more years of consulting experience, you make less than people who have less experience. And that's probably a product of some of the younger people or more junior people may be working at a McKinsey or somewhere that pays higher, but there's a significant difference between people that have less experience at a level in consulting than more experience. You actually make less the more years of experience. Whereas most of the time, years of experience has very little to do with it. It's usually, I equate it to sports sometimes, and apologies if that's not a good example for you. The next person up sometimes just gets paid, or they find the right company. And so sometimes there's no rhyme or reason why someone's making more than someone else. But there were some seriously interesting stuff where I was trying to call everything out. Any law firms embracing value-based pricing? honestly, law firms seem to not be using me enough right now, so I can't tell you. Um, they're they're spending times and those roles are sitting out there. So I haven't done as much legal pricing as I normally do. Usually I do a few a year, but obviously with the amount of you looking and the amount of roles, my business is down. So if you want to keep me in business, remember that and let me help you out with some roles. Uh, I usually don't talk about that stuff, but yeah, I mean, the billable hour in the legal space, they've been trying to push it to alternate fee and, clients, I mean, companies want that. They want more visibility in what they're going to pay just like everybody else. I was even trying to get someone to do the cover slide for me after my designer kind of botched it. So if you don't like the cover, my apologies. That was me designing at 8 o'clock last night. So my apologies for that one. But even he wanted a guy I was talking with wanted a fixed fee, and then he said my timeline was too tight after I'd offered him more. Um, in terms of job descriptions, do you see any shift in requirements? Honestly, the job descriptions all look the same to me. They're mainly copied and pasted. Um, you know, there's not really a big shift. I think the thing for job descriptions is to make sure you customize your resume to them, which is kind of why I created the resume class. And if people haven't seen that, I think we still have the lower price, right, Drew? I think so. But so it's less about the job requirements. I mean, unless they're specifically calling something out, um, most of them look relatively the same. I think the thing that's hard right now to do with a number of people applying is make a shift to a different industry. So if you want to break into a different industry right now, with the amount of people applying, it's going to be very tough because they want specific industry experience. So that'd be the big thing I'd look for on job descriptions right now, or when you're looking at the companies, especially the remote roles. If you're coming from a far off industry, I don't want to say don't waste your time, but you need to customize that resume and explain to them how and quickly before you just get tossed. So I see more effort needs to go in from pricing professionals on resumes as it relates to job descriptions versus job descriptions having changed. So, as a whole, we need to elevate our resumes. I mean, eh, I I in the class I go through my own resume and I tear it to shreds and I say, hey, this format doesn't work for ATS systems, and I go through all that stuff. My resume would not get me anywhere right now if I went with my same resume I have. So far too many people are doing that and not customizing and just throwing it into a black hole. But that's a whole different topic. There's another industry cut. Sarah, there's just not enough people, I think, taking it from that space for me to. Drew, you make a note and I'll see if what there is, but there's just not enough people. I mean, we struggle just to get. I mean, I had to beg, borrow, and steal, and think people. I think I even hurt my domain score reaching out to everybody saying, hey, please take the salary survey. I need it for your area. I'm not going to include your area. I can't include your industry. I know I even went back to the Bay Area software folks and was like, is this really the comp? Can you please help me out? Tell me if it's wrong. I think it's higher. But so from the very specific stuff, I just can't get enough responses to be able to show anything of value. There were certain areas where even I had maybe some, 3 in an area, but they were just all over the place. I'm like, I can't put this out. I can't put this out there. So, I mean, I think we just need to push as many people. I'm happy to kind of relook at the industries if everybody thinks maybe we should kind of have a different different industry list, or if maybe there's a subscription flag or a value based, or I think the one thing I wanted to do was kind of talk about operational versus strategic versus administrative, and get a sense of what percentage of your time. I think that could be something that's an interesting one, that could kind of help us look at maybe some of where this comps are coming in. And sorry, I keep looking down. The screen's down, the camera's up. Andrew, there wasn't much of a difference, honestly, with healthcare and pharmaceuticals. I'll double check, but the reason I kind of pushed stuff together was because stuff was looking very, very similar, and I needed more data to be able to show stuff. And if I didn't put stuff together, then I couldn't show it. And it was all very, I think I started individually, and I actually had them broken out separately, and then ended up putting them together when I saw the similarities in the comp, because it was more about, I want to say more about experience or areas, and those were kind of grouped together. And so if you look at across everything, it doesn't necessarily work, because you don't get enough responses to kind of in the different areas to kind of show what that true market is. So I mean my emails get about 10,000 opens. We only got 1,500 people to take the salary survey. So if we can bump that number up, I can show you guys a lot more. So just remember that next year. Just please help me kind of push it out there, share it, like it, do whatever. The more you guys interact with my posts, the more people see it, obviously. And so I was surprised we got there, but I had to do a LinkedIn Live. I had to keep sending emails, and Drew was sending emails from my email at one point. We were just trying to get to where we were at 13. We were like 1350 last year, and we were honestly struggling at like 1100 for a while. So the more you guys can help, more the community can help me push this out there, the more I can give you. So that's why we were able to do, so many more industries and double that, is because we got, 1,500 more, or not 1,500, 150 more responses, got us double the industries, and got us 10, I forget what it was, 10 more metro areas. So every response is super, super valuable. And so some of it I can't, I'd love to show more, but to protect people's privacy, which is kind of, I think, the paramount thing for me, is making sure that, when you take the salary survey, no one's ever going to find out about it. And not even I know. I don't think I've ever figured out who a single salary belongs to. Not that most people would care if I know what they're making. I know what a lot of people are making, but so anyways, hopefully that makes sense. Any last questions, concerns? If you got stuff you don't want to put in here, shoot me a message, send me an email, whatever it is. I want to improve this every year, and my apologies for the delay. Honestly, I've had some family emergencies and stuff that I've had to take care of, and this has had to kind of go on the back burner for a little bit. So I appreciate everybody joining and watching and downloading. Share it with your coworkers, share it with the community, try to get it out there. The more people that download it too, the more email addresses that I have to remind people for next year. That kind of helps just too with, I think the biggest response we had from any email was the people that took it last year. So the more people that download it, the more email addresses we have, the quicker we get the responses, and the quicker I can get this out. So if you have any further questions, just shoot them my way. Myself or Drew are happy to look at it. And if you're ever, in a salary negotiation, feel free to reach out to me. You need more data, you need something to send to management, whatever it is, I'm here. I'm happy to help with that type of stuff. I don't have, all day to talk to everybody, but if there is something like that where it's going to help somebody and they need that, I don't think we've ever turned somebody away to try to help with that or give some advice or whatever it is. So always feel free to reach out for that stuff. We're always happy to help people make more money and, make the salaries keep going up, which is a win for everybody, I think. So appreciate the time. Feel free to, like I said, something's wrong with it, you find an error, you don't agree with something, just let me know. I'm happy to look at it, confirm something for you, you know, update it, whatever it may be. So really, please don't hesitate to reach out. We want to hear from you. We want to improve it. So yeah, thanks everybody. Don't see any more questions. So everybody have a great rest of their day, weekend, Thanksgiving if you're in the US in a little while. So all right, thanks everybody. Have a good day.